Hello and welcome everyone to the Future is Crypto, our very first webinar. I'm joining you with Jed Grant, Stefan Kinsella, and Eleanor Blanc. Welcome, you guys. Glad to have you here on the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Hello, thank you.
Hey, Max.
Hey, so where are you guys joining us from tonight?
In Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
Nighttime.
Okay. And Eleanor?
I'm based in Amsterdam, so we're not that far from each other, Jed.
No, not at all.
And Stefan? I see
I'm
you
in I'm in Houston, Texas, and luckily we have power again, so I can participate.
Oh, great. Okay, very cool. All right, and I'm in Istanbul right now. So this is great. This is wonderful. We're all spread out over the world. Luxembourg, you're the first guy I know who actually lives in Luxembourg. You know, I don't know anyone else who actually lives there.
A couple of us.
What's it like?
It rains most of the time, but it's a nice little country. It's a very quiet, beautiful countryside, high standard of living, massive financial sector, and they're very blockchain crazy. Although the government does get a little nervous around crypto, but yeah, it's a good place. They like innovation and it's accessible. I mean, I can access the ministries here pretty easily.
So you're obviously American. What are you doing over there in Luxembourg?
I came here a long, long time ago as a civilian lieutenant colonel with NATO. I ran an IT section in the 90s. I did a lot of cryptography. I was a cypherpunk at night and a NATO cryptographer during the day. Did that for about 10 years. Left here for a while. And then a friend of mine who was the head of ops at the Luxembourg Secret Service decided to go private as well and came back to set up a due diligence company with him in 2008. And then spun off and did a pure tech play in 2014 that I'm currently running.
Wow. Wow, that's a pretty interesting story there. So you're pretty much like not leaving Luxembourg, right? You're kind of stuck there now, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I know how that is. You know, I came to Turkey like several years ago, and once you learn the language, I mean, at a certain point, you just say, if you don't go back, you just kind of stay forever, you know, just kind of linger around.
Yeah.
So Eleanor, where are you from originally?
Switzerland. So I live between, well, now I live fully in Amsterdam, but originally most of my life has been in Switzerland.
Okay.
So learned a lot as well from two different places, but I would say these are two crypto-friendly places as well to be. I guess with Luxembourg, Netherlands, Switzerland, we have like a nice trio here in Europe where crypto is definitely booming, and there's a lot of startups. A lot of people here are involved with cryptocurrencies, and yeah, I'm very lucky to be here.
Okay, and how long have you been working in Amsterdam for?
Close to 5 years now, and crypto since 2017. So I'm a late cypherpunk, but cypherpunk no less, since I discovered it in October 2017, never looked back.
Wait, you discovered it in 2017. What did you first discover in 2017?
I went to a Bitcoin meetup. Mm-hmm. And went to a Bitcoin meetup and got sucked in. Didn't know what was happening. I'm one of those people that came into the ecosystem through meeting really interesting people, getting inspired. I will always be thankful for the first people that sat me down at that meetup and were trying to explain to me hashes and forks already at my first night, first meetup. Always will be thankful for those people, because then I went home and studied basically, and then was very involved with the meetup scene here in Amsterdam, started organizing my own meetups here. And then the rest is history, I guess, but I started working with BTC.com. I learned a lot about the wallet mining industry there. And then I started my own company in 2019 to be able to consult freely, to be a true, I think once you start talking a lot about freedom, you start wanting it for yourself as well. And that's also has been a wonderful journey working with other wallets, other exchanges. And I would say that right now I'm really focused on education.
So you mentioned again, October 2017, because that was the time when, what was the price of Bitcoin when you got in?
What price was it? I think it was around 6K or maybe even earlier. No, it was 3K something. Then it really ramped up really fast. In those months, I couldn't follow, and I could feel the electricity in the air right of that bull market. And I guess a lot of people were attracted by that. You could really feel the greed was in the air. You talked to people and there was dollar signs in their eyes. I stayed for more than that. Obviously, once you go through a 3-year bear market, you realize that the most important is the fundamentals and the values in the space, not the price.
Absolutely. It's really the test. I mean, you came right in at the end. I mean, a lot of people don't make it past January 2018, you know, they just kind of give up.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was an interesting entry point. And Stefan, let's hear a little bit about you as well.
I'm from Louisiana, a neighboring state here to Texas. That's my law school in the background there. I've been practicing for about 28 years now, patent law, mostly patent law. And I've lived in London and Pennsylvania, and now I'm in Houston, Texas. And I've been a libertarian for a long time, into technology for a long time, obviously as an electrical engineer background and a patent attorney. I specialize in laser patents. That's my kind of bread and butter. And
oh, you just say that you just say that in passing. That sounds super cool. Can you please just explain what exactly is a laser patent, by the way?
Oh, patents on laser technology. So I specialize in laser technology. I'm an electrical engineer, but lasers are heavily physics oriented. So I didn't learn that in college, but I learned it on the job, and it took a while to really. Lasers is really high level technology to understand how they work, enough to describe it to get a patent on it. So once I learned that, I specialized in it because there's not many people that know it. So some people would say it's boring to do the same thing over and over, but of course every invention is different. But once you learn a little narrow, tiny narrow niche, plus it gives me the excuse to, when my relatives come to me to do a will, I can say, I'm sorry, I only do laser patents. So it's a good excuse to turn away people wanting free legal advice. But
yeah, it's super cool. But now that they know that you do cryptocurrency, you're no longer going to be in that esoteric, that small market. Now that you're doing this kind of stuff, I think you have a lot of people asking you all kinds of questions: how to pay taxes, how to file, if they need to file an FBAR. I mean, I imagine that those days are gone. The laser patent days.
All my family and friends think I'm the world's Bitcoin expert, but compared to all the people on Clubhouse, I'm an amateur, so I know my place. But yeah, I actually was interested in it since the beginning, but I thought it could work. I just thought the government would shut it down if it got to be too popular. So I made a bet in 2012 with Vijay Boyapati. I said by the end of the year, I thought it would crash. And we bet $100. And so by the end of 2012, it was clear I had lost. And so he offered to take 3 Bitcoins at $30 each in payment for a $100 bet. And I think he did that to nudge me into figuring out how to buy a Bitcoin. So I bought 5 Bitcoins, and I paid him with 3 of them, and I kept 2. So that's how I got into Bitcoin, by losing a bet.
If you took it a little bit more seriously, that background could have been your house right now,
I know. I know.
It's the right time.
I know.
Oh man. Okay, so you got in 2012. And a lot of
I actually spoke at Jeff Tucker, my friend at the Mises Institute, had one of the first cryptocurrency conferences in 2013 in Atlanta, and asked me to speak. And I was not a Bitcoin expert, but I spoke on legal tender law and how that might play a role with the financial aspects of Bitcoin. So I was at a cryptocurrency conference. It was called a cryptocurrency conference in Atlanta in late 2013, and that was fun. Lots of the guys were there that you hear their names now.
So you guys, Jeb, you're a libertarian. Stefan, you're a libertarian. Jed, my God. Okay. Jed, could you please explain to me why being a libertarian is consistent with your views on patents right now? Before you do, we spoke briefly before yesterday. So in fairness to the audience, why don't you explain to me what your views are with respect to patents and blockchain? And then afterwards, Eleanor, I'd like to hear your opinion. And then after you, Stefan.
Sure. We live in a world of laws and systems that have been put together. And as a libertarian, I believe that a lot of laws are unjust laws. And as a libertarian, unjust laws deserve to be ignored or even broken whenever possible, provided that they're not immoral in doing so. And a lot of intellectual property is enforced in a manner that stymies innovation or creates false monopolies. And things that are in the open source and public domain tend to get much better use and much better value for society. So very specifically on the case of Bitcoin, we founded a group called the Open Crypto Alliance just a couple months ago. And I've been writing about patent wars in blockchain for several years because I saw this coming. I watched the browser wars happen with Microsoft and Internet Explorer, and then I watched the phone wars happen with Samsung and Apple. We all remember that. And every time there's a big new technological shift, there's a patent war that ensues after that. And I was wondering, when is the blockchain patent war going to happen? Started wondering about it in around 2015, and now it's happening. So we set this group up, and the idea is to protect technologies that should be in the public domain and keep them in the public domain by preventing people from obtaining patents. That's what the Open Crypto Alliance is set up to do. And I think that if we want the vision of Bitcoin to become what we know it can become, that is a very, very important thing to do. There's no company, there are no organized people protecting Bitcoin from patent trolls, from patent pirates. And that what I mean by that is people who would patent aspects of Bitcoin so that they can enforce them at the endpoints. Yes, it's a decentralized network and nobody can shut it down. But if you build a nice little Bitcoin business and somebody comes along with a patent, some troll, and says, hey, you got to pay me now 10% of your business for the rest of your life, that's basically slavery. And as a libertarian, I stand pretty firmly against it.
Okay, so I'm sure for a lot of people that's not the mainstream, view, but it is something that. Would you say that if you were to sit down at the dinner table with your friends or your close family, how many people would agree with you if you were to make those statements?
Very few. My family thinks I'm a heretic.
Okay. So there's that. I didn't think anyone would think that, but I think that a lot of the first word that will come to mind for a lot of people will be crazy, because what you're saying, a lot of people just don't want to believe, what the kinds of things you're saying. So, almost like a fringe ideology. But when you say it like that, for instance, unjust laws deserve to be ignored. Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Sure, there are, on a very simple level, there are laws for speeding that have been passed without any basis in safety, without any basis in environmental protection or any other logic. They're simply passed so that you can put up a camera and make some cash for the municipality you're driving through. These, I feel, are unjust laws. And therefore, I'll drive as fast as I damn well please on those pieces of road, provided I'm safe. I haven't had a car accident in 30 years, knock on wood. So I think I'm a decent driver. And there are also politically these kind of speed things. So the Green Party in Germany, the German autoroutes used to be famed for being able to drive as fast as you want, wherever you want. And now you have to really look for stretches of autoroute that have no speed limit, because the Greens have enacted speed limits throughout Germany just to slow people down. In France, they've done it as well. And they argue that it's an environmental thing, but it's not really. It's really about these speed cameras and giving out tickets. Highway robbery.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that part. So now, Eleanor, you've been smiling a lot during this. I'm sure you have something to say.
I love it. It's just like, first of all, it's always nice to be with kindred spirits. It just makes me smile. As you said, there's not many people out there that would say these things. So I don't know, so much in the open. I love driving through Germany. It feels like freedom indeed. And what I would say in regards to my experience in the space and patents, I'm not a lawyer. I'm really a community person, education. And what I can see is that we're in an open source development space, right? The Bitcoin white paper was released under the MIT license. So far, from what I understand, it means that it's It means that anybody can use Bitcoin, and anybody that would come at a certain point, whether it be on the on and off ramp moments, and would try to take advantage of of a certain technology, or to be able to block something or block innovation. Indeed, those actors need to be dealt with. And another way, what I would say is that what I've seen is, thanks to this open world, this permissionless technology and industry in general, is that you see more and more innovation. You don't need regulations. You don't need to block or save people from themselves. The space learns on its own very fast. And in regards to forks and in regards to how code works, I strongly believe that forking is freedom. There's a really powerful governance mechanism there, is that once you don't agree with the majority, forking is a valid way to go a different way and to change the protocol, or just choose a different scalability solution. So that's more of my perspective on this open source industry, and that forking is the governance that we have right now. If we don't agree, you can fork off.
I was about to say, forking is freedom. Can I trademark that? You know, that's great. You know, I like that.
I heard, you know what? That's why you have to go to meetups. I heard it first from Paul Pui, CEO of Edge Wallet, who's an open source wallet, multi-asset wallet that allows you to have your private keys. And he said that, and it resonated with me so strongly, because a lot of people would, argue against forks and that forks are destructive, but there's beauty and divergence of opinion and technology. That's how we do it today.
For instance, Elon Musk, or Tesla, Elon Musk, they released a lot of their patents. They think that this stifles, creativity. A lot of that was done in the name of environmental, they wanted to, to fight climate change. But what I'd like to ask now, Stefan, is the same thing about intellectual property. We spoke about this yesterday, and I had a question, which is that if your company does not own its own intellectual property, what exactly is its intrinsic value? I mean, what exactly then is a company's worth, if not its own intellectual property?
Right. Well, before I get to that, let me say, Eleanor, the forking thing, the analog politically, us radical libertarians are basically anarchists, so we believe in secession or forking down to the individual level. So you could think of forking as analogous to secession. So yeah, secede if you don't like the rules of the local area. As for companies, so I'm a patent attorney. I've been doing it since 1993 and around the same time, I had been struggling with the issue of intellectual property as a libertarian throughout college and law school. And I started thinking more about it as a young lawyer because I was going to practice it. And I concluded right around the same time as I passed the patent bar that patent law and copyright law as well are completely illegitimate. By the way, Eleanor, you could trademark that phrase even though you didn't come up with it. If no one else
I have a better one.
It.
I have a better one. I say that buying a coin is a political statement. That's usually my sentence, my logo. But
yeah,
please
trademark
go
it. So I came to the conclusion that patent law is completely incompatible with individual rights, with capitalism, with free markets, with property rights, with competition, with learning and emulation and the progress and advance of technology and innovation and the human species, to be honest. I believe that patent law has put a huge damper on innovation for the last 200 or so years in its modern form. Interestingly, the proponents of patents argue the opposite. So they make a causation correlation argument. They say that so the West and the US in particular have done amazingly well since about 1776, 1789 when the US started, and when the first patent system, 1790, the first modern patent system started. And so they say that if not for the patent system, then the West wouldn't have been as prosperous, et cetera. But of course, that's just a causation equals correlation argument. That's saying that, I mean, you could also argue that our import policies and our continual wars and our our tariffs are also the cause of it. That's not the cause of our success. Now, as for the value of a company, if you don't have patents, of course, it's in your reputation, right? And you don't need patents to have a reputation, and actually trademarks are what it's meant to protect reputation, but you don't need that either. Companies have a reputation and they're known for certain products. As a simple example, it's often argued that pharmaceuticals is the best case for patents because that's a type of product that is easy to replicate once you just know the formula for the drug. And so the first innovator who puts billions of dollars into developing and getting the drug approved would face competition and wouldn't be able to recoup their investment, so they wouldn't engage in that in the first place. That's the basic argument, which of course clearly makes it clear that it's an anti-competitive argument, because you say that you're afraid of competition, so you want a law to protect you from competition. So patent law is clearly protectionist. And of course, the billions of dollars of expenses you have wouldn't be there if the FDA didn't exist to impose those costs in the first place. So it's kind of ridiculous you want that. But anyway, the point is this. Right now, most people are familiar with, you have a headache, you want to take a Tylenol or a acetaminophen pill. You can go to the drugstore in the US at least, and you could purchase Tylenol, or you can purchase the generic brand, which is just called acetaminophen, and it's usually less than half the price. And those products are displayed right next to each other on the shelf with a vastly different price. And some people buy the more expensive one. Why do they do that? Because of the reputation of Tylenol, because they want the brand name. So companies can have a reputation that gives them an advantage even without government granted monopolies. That's kind of a short initial answer.
Okay, so then I just have a question. Let's say that you've developed, or that you would like to develop, treatment for MS, and you have a really crazy idea. You sought government funding, you went to a few universities, you went to a few venture capitalists, but everyone laughed you out of the room. And then you came to me, and I believed in your idea. As crazy as it sounded, I thought that your potential treatment could save millions of lives. So I took the risk, and I take my own capital and I invest in your project. And it turns out to be a success. Now we put a patent on it because I don't want to share the rewards when other people didn't want to share the risk. What would you say to that argument? Why should the universities that turned you down and everyone else now be entitled, why do they get to take away from our profits when we were the ones who took the risk?
Right. Okay. Well, to be precise, you didn't give an argument. You just said what you want, and then you asked a question. Say you said, why do we get to blah, 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 and I want. Okay, so competitors want to have no competition because it's easier to make a profit then, but that's not the free market. And the question of why should someone get some of my profits? Well, because you don't own profits that you haven't earned yet. A profit is just, the leftover gain you make after you make a sale and you subtract your costs. So the sale is money from a potential customer, and you don't have a property. I mean, the technical answer is you don't have a property right in a future stream of revenue because you don't have a right to the money that your customers have, or that your potential future customers have. You only have a right to it once they decide to pay you. And if they decide to pay a competitor instead, they have a right to do that because they own that money. So all that means is that everyone on the free market faces competition. And when you try to make a profit, if you find a way to do it, then you're going to attract imitators. That's the way the free market works. You think you see an opportunity to make an above average rate of return by satisfying consumer demands, by engaging in some project, right, to sell some service or some good to a consumer. And if you're successful, the more you're successful, the more profit you'll make, and the more that will be visible, and other people will notice and say, okay, this guy's doing something that he's making a profit off of because he's satisfying consumers. Let's get in on that game too. So they start competing with you, and they erode your profit margin. And this is how the consumers are made better off. Prices fall over time, and the original guy has to keep innovating to stay on top of his competitors who are nipping at his heels all the time. So this is just part of the market. The only difference is that for certain types of products, and especially products which are highly dependent upon their design, which can be easily copied. In the digital age, this is more the case, like with a book or with a movie or with music, or with some machines, especially if it's a simple patent, like in the iPhone case, the design patent on the shape of a smartphone with a touch surface with rounded corners, right? So if you have a patent on that, it's or if that's your unique feature of your product, which I don't think rounded corners was what made the iPhone sell, but still, it's easy for someone else to make a phone which has rounded corners. Okay, so it's very easy for someone to compete with you if they could just add that design feature. So the fear is that in a normal market, in the pre-digital age, in the pre-internet age, competition is difficult. Like I have a factory that makes cars or buggy whips or candles or whatever, and someone can compete with me if I'm successful, but it takes a while for them to build another factory and to hire employees and figure out how to make the candles or the cars the same way. So I have a natural advantage if I'm first. I can charge so-called monopoly profits for a while and recoup my investment cost and sit easy for a while, for 5, 10, 15 years, until someone starts competing with me. So naturally I start getting competitors, but it takes a while. So I can make some nice, easy, juicy profits for a while, right, before competition heats up. But in certain industries, it's competition is instant. Like if I sell a book, as soon as I sell the book, people can easily copy that book. So competition starts right away. So what you have is you have these people that they're okay with tolerating competition as if it's a bad thing they have to put up with, but they're okay with putting up with it in the analog world. But in the digital world, competition comes too fast and quick. And so they're afraid of competition because people that are entrepreneurs face competition too much and too quickly, so they want to slow it down with patent and copyright law. So my answer is, it's up to the entrepreneur to figure out in his field of endeavor how he can make a profit, given that he will face competition of different natures, depending on the nature of his service or his product.
I think that's interesting that you say that, because let's take the ultimate anarchist, not the same kind of anarchist like you, not a libertarian anarchist, but let's take Noam Chomsky and let's take his book, Manufacturing Consent. What would happen if I were to take his book and upload it on the internet and spread the truth to everyone? What do you think Chomsky would do to me? What kind of letter do you think I would get in the mail from this anarchist? You think I get a cease and desist? What do you think?
I think he would send you a letter and he would tell you to stop, and he would say, "No, I'm saying." Sorry, that was a gnome joke.
Yeah, so basically, you have kind of a lot of anarchists who, they believe in decimating the truth belongs to everyone, spread the word, but they put a barcode on the truth. You have those kinds of anarchists where there's a little barcode on the back of the book and you have to pay. You're basically paying to hear something that they're arguing should be a universal truth. And I think that you don't associate yourself with that ideology, but even Chomsky, being the anarchist that he is, even he has a right to make money or to make a living out of what he's doing, right? So even anarchists don't necessarily argue against intellectual property or copyrights or what you're talking about, patents. So where exactly do you think that this comes from? Is it coming from your libertarian point of view, your anarchist point of view? Because it's confusing for me.
I think it took me a while to figure it out, and I think from my perspective is a little bit of a radical one, but I think that there was a fundamental mistake made centuries ago, started by John Locke, basically, with the labor theory of property. So his argument that we own resources in the world because God gave the world to us in common, which is basically unowned, and he gave us ownership of our bodies, which he called ourselves. So then he made this logical leap, therefore you own your labor because that's what you do with your body, and therefore you own these unowned resources that you mix your labor with, because you own your labor, and when you mix your labor with it, you stamp it with your ownership. I think he's correct in his argument, except the outcome is correct. I think you can homestead things and own them for that reason, but it's not because you own your labor. It's simply because you're the first to mark a connection between you and that thing. But so the idea of ownership of your labor infects the Lockean Western idea of homesteading. And then that led, I believe, to the economic fallacy started by Adam Smith and then Ricardo and then picked up by Karl Marx. the labor theory of the labor theory of value, which is that you own your labor, and when you mix your labor into producing a good, then the value of that good is based upon the labor that you put into it, and therefore when the employer sells it for a profit, they're exploiting the worker because they're taking the surplus labor value from the worker. So this has led to communism.
I see Jed laughing, and I see Jed laughing in the background. I just wonder.
Go ahead, Jed.
Jed, is there something that you want to add to what he's saying?
Yeah, the system is convoluted, complicated, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. So it's something that is far beyond the scope of an hour or two in the evening. But you have to put it in context. So all of this competitive, yes, we want free markets, yes, we want entrepreneurs, etc. But we have a system with patents, and we also have a system with government subsidies of gigantic corporations that can squash innovation. And they actually buy innovative companies just to shut them down because they want to protect their existing market. So you have all this kind of sickness happening in the world. And if I bring it back to Bitcoin, which is why we're all here tonight, it's about having Bitcoin go forward in the future. And what we're seeing is patents being set up to be used as weapons against Bitcoin as a free and open community. So what I mean by this is people are patenting technology that is not necessarily new or novel or invented by them, but that hasn't been patented before, and the patent office has not seen before. And these patents, if you look at them, there were a few hundred in 2016, 17, 18 was over 1,000. 2019, there were over 10,000 patents. And last year, there were over 13,000 patents filed on blockchain and crypto technologies. So it's a boom. It's like the price of Bitcoin, the number of patents. And these are going to be weaponized to control the profitable businesses in the industry. So no, they're not going to say you can't have Bitcoin at all, but you can't build your business around it. You got to build your business around BSV or some other shitcoin. And that is the future that we have to prevent by keeping these patents out of private hands and keeping them open and public. So this is really the practical approach to dealing with this now, and the time is really now. So these 20,000 patents that were filed in the last 2 years are in the pipe. They're not granted. And so we need to stop them when they are published and they're in review. And to do that, we need to find prior art through crowdsourcing, because there's no big company behind Bitcoin to do this for us. You know, we're not Apple. We have a market cap bigger than Apple, but we're not Apple. We don't have that organization. So we need to crowdsource that prior art, and then we need to send it to the patent inspectors when they're reviewing these patents in order to get the patents to not be granted in the first place. That process will cost like 10 to 30 grand per patent that we want to take down, prevent. If those patents get granted, they're going to be used to attack successful Bitcoin businesses. You know, people like Strike, Zap, they're going to get attacked by these patent trolls. And these guys are going to cost a minimum of $250,000 just to fight the case. And if they win, they're going to extract permanent revenue streams out of these companies. So it's a very, very bad future that could come out of this if it's not prevented. And there are people working on that side to line that up, and we need to stop them.
I think it would be good to explain to the audience, and then afterwards I'll let Eleanor speak, that there are certain individuals who claim to be the creator of Bitcoin. Some who shall remain nameless have filed numerous patents in the past few years, and they would like to consolidate, they would like basically to control the entire network. Eleanor, what are your thoughts on this? And do you know which individual I'm speaking about?
I don't know who you're talking about. He shall not be named. No, I think it's funny. I think
who among us is brave enough to say his name? It is not.
I just don't want to give him the publicity.
No, but the space is open, right? Like if we advocate for free market and libertarianism and freedom, this is an open market. And it means that you have all kinds of actors. You have good actors, bad actors, and everything in between. This actor in particular has very outrageous claims, and I haven't met him personally or anything like that. What I do know and what I have experienced is 2 forks. So I've experienced the BCH BSV fork and the BCH BCHA fork. And from what I can see is that since in Bitcoin and in proof of work chains, where governance is really up to the people holding the keys of the code, and the emerging consensus that arise from the discussion among developers and the ecosystem at large. And since we're not really operating at scale, these are still really small communities. It's possible to coerce or to captivate an audience and to put forth your narrative. And for the BCH BSV fork, it was really surprising. I remember organizing the BCH hackathon here in Amsterdam. I had several people that are now considered BSVers say to me even 2 weeks before the fork, it's not going to happen, Ellie, don't worry, nothing. But it was like weird rumors in the air. And I knew that there was something trafficking. I knew that people were out there discussing hash rates and discussing forks. And what was thrown at people and as to chew on was, canonical transaction ordering. And that was what, that was one of the points of debate was CTOR and other things. And it was a surprise, I would say, for the larger ecosystem. And it wasn't a surprise for a small number of people that were very much involved and knew what was happening. And that fork was extremely destructive. I can say that a lot of very smart people believe in BSV and believe in its
essentially like
its use case.
It's like the QAnon of crypto, right? The BSV.
No, I wouldn't say that. No, that's too simplistic. It's just another and different way of believing. Each cryptocurrency has a different value proposition. Each cryptocurrency has different beliefs, and each cryptocurrency will distinguish each other from each other by proposing something different. BSV's mentality, and I'm not a BSV expert, but what I can say is that they don't want the protocol to change, or they even want to revert certain things in the protocol to bring it back to an original version of what they consider what Bitcoin should be. And they have big blocks. BCH, on another stance, believes in scalability as well, has 32 megabyte blocks, and is continuing to improve its blockchain. The blockchain is not set in stone in BCH and can change and can have future developments. And then the BCHA fork, I would say that their proposition, which was a bit weird, but it was basically with the IFP, was introducing a tax on each block so that a part of the block reward would go to an organization, basically. And so it's, as you can see, it's only with a bit of distance that you can start appreciating the differences and what each coin basically is trying to defend. And then you have people within those forks that disagree with each other, right? It's not one uniform, other forks could happen, but people do realize that the cost of it is the opportunity cost that the opportunity loss, I should say, that we have, the negative externality of a fork. It's really nice and fun when it's like 3 years in the making and it's a highly debate. And I think the first fork that we should talk about here tonight is the BTC BCH fork, where that took years of discussion and public debates and people arguing over what should be the next step for BTC, so that we're not in the situation like today where I can't use it and it's really expensive. But there's different ways of scaling, and bigger blocks is one of them. And that fork just is one way of changing things. And there's some people that can agree and some people that can disagree. But I teach, and I like to end each of my classes with a cryptocurrency wallet workshop. I like to put crypto in the hands of people. I want people to feel it. I want people to it's because you can talk about crypto all day long, but if you don't actually use it, if you don't actually like make payments and move it around, then you don't feel the pain of what is a slow network or really high fees. And I can do that with BCH today. So with BCH, it's easy for me to send €2 worth of BCH to any here of the 64 participants. They can all drop their addresses here. And for me, that will be, let's say, I'll accept to airdrop it for that cost. But if I have to spend €2 more for it to go through the system, then yeah. And this is what forks are for. Forks were there to have different opinions, and so it's for the battle of ideas to happen. Really, it's freedom, and it's an experiment, and it's an ongoing social and economic experiment, and we're seeing it at play today. And users are the people really suffering or at the mercy of this emerging consensus, because then the wallets and the exchanges and everything around it needs to adapt, and they have to list another coin or delist one. As a wallet, you have to help people to split their coins, replay protection. There's other things at play here, but I would say that it's a community cost, because it splits people, it breaks friendships, it breaks people's hearts. It's painful. But then on another side, it's to allow for a different path for a different type of technology. And that's what happens.
Eleanor, I'm so glad you brought up that point, because I don't know anything about the Open Crypto Alliance. And I'd like to ask, I believe that, Jed, that you are at the forefront of the battle against these patents, these patent wars against Bitcoin. So I can tell you, well, I don't need to tell you, that nothing poses more of a threat to the future of forks than a patent on Bitcoin, somebody asserting their ownership over Bitcoin. There goes all your forks, right? So Jed, do you mind telling me a little bit about what exactly the Open Crypto Alliance does, how they function? You went into a little bit of detail about it, but not enough for the audience or me to understand exactly what its purpose is.
So we're a nonprofit, and our aim is to keep the technology open and prevent patents from being awarded on crypto and blockchain technology. It's particularly abusive patents. So we want to fight abusive patents before they get granted. The way we do that is twofold. So we will crowdsource and build a database of prior art, because we don't believe that patent organizations, the patent inspectors, properly examine prior art. I mean, they just don't have the time. They're not resourced to do that. You need to dig through GitHub. You need to look at all the code that's been open sourced in the past. You need to know what's beyond academic journals, which are typically the purview of where these guys will look. So we want to crowdsource that database, and we want to then at the same time crowdsource all the patents that are out there and the analysis of them. So translate these pending patents into plain engineer English so that engineers can find prior art. I know someone who's already done that. I know a project that did that already. We cite that project, the patent gets derailed and doesn't get awarded. The technology stays open and nobody can come around and shake down anybody else about it. This is very important because of innovation, as we said earlier. If you look at Bitcoin itself, it was, I think, May 2008 that the Schnorr signature patent expired. There wasn't enough time to put Schnorr signatures in Bitcoin at that point, even though they'd been around for 20 years almost. And that's because of the patent, and because Schnorr, who patented them, never licensed that patent and never let anyone use them because he wanted to make money, which he actually, I don't think, ever made because he was greedy. But he didn't end up getting this technology out there. So everything was stifled and we ended up with elliptic curve. And now with Taproot, 12 years later, we're going to get Schnorr signatures in Bitcoin. I mean, this is something that should have been there from day one. They're smaller, they're faster. A multi-sig looks like a single sig, so you can do transactions much more anonymously and more efficiently. You don't have to show that you have a multi-sig. So this is the kind of thing that innovation that's stifled. Now, on the future that we're trying to protect, if you look at where patents are going, everybody talks about quantum crypto and quantum resistant hashing and these kind of things. Imagine a future in which all the quantum hash algorithms are patented. So you can break the Bitcoin chain, but you can no longer secure it because you can't implement a quantum resistant hash to secure it because you need that. I mean, it'll be secure. It's not going to break. Bitcoin's not going to break because of quantum computing, because as soon as we put a quantum hash on it, all that work becomes quantum work, and proof of work still works. But if you aren't allowed to implement that, we would have a real problem.
That's a fantastic point. Eleanor, are you familiar at all with what you just said? Okay, would you, because I know you want to ask something about that before. So Eleanor, I'll cut to you.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that we were talking about innovation and how these different protocols basically are offering different value proposition. And regarding Schnorr signatures, BCH implemented it in its May 2019 upgrade. So, and that's something that was really interesting, I see, is that we could see that among Bitcoin forks, that to see how fast the development can go through, and who's going to have the best technology, who's going to have the best user experience in general, might get the market, right? That's the end goal, I think, of all these cryptocurrencies, aside from the patents, which I know we're all here to talk about, but it's sadly not my expertise. But I really see that this technology innovation and in general, how these protocols are, they want to compete with each other. They want to offer the more features for users. And in terms of privacy, as I understand, Schnorr is really one of the most interesting technology coming around. I've heard a lot of questions around Taproot recently, but I'm happy that Bitcoin is innovating again and, you know, changing its protocol as well. So may the best fork win. That's how I see it. So I'm happy that Schnorr is coming around, that we're offering more privacy for users. I wish we had more privacy by default. For anybody listening, Bitcoin is absolutely not anonymous. It is pseudo-anonymous. And Schnorr signatures are only one way, basically, of adding one small layer, or actually a significant layer of privacy for people.
Okay, great. And also, Jed said something very interesting about quantum computers, because one day they will pose a significant threat to Bitcoin.
Right.
And
well, they'll pose, yeah.
But as he said, what if somebody were to patent those remedies, and what if they were to basically refuse? Jed, can you please clarify a little bit, because I have never heard that argument before, and it's a really good one. It's also
I've heard it, but I think that quantum computing will break everything. Like, it's not just cryptocurrency.
Just because it will break it doesn't mean that somebody won't come and, you know, they will find a remedy.
It will fix it too. Quantum hashes will be quantum resistant. But the problem would be if all the quantum hash algorithms are patented. And so, you know, someone says, IBM or whoever says, you have to use IBM coin. It's the only coin that is quantum enabled. And we own the patents, and that's the only cryptocurrency that the world gets now. It's over, guys, because we've broken everything else. We have all your private keys from your RSA and your elliptic curve. You're done. So, you know, we have to avoid that. And there's us, Open Crypto Alliance. It's opencryptoalliance.org. You know, we have a small amount of funding in the community. We need to raise much more funding in order to be able to fight this battle. And if we can't raise the funding, well, we're not going to be able to fight it. There are two other organizations that we work with and are in touch with and dialogue with as well. There's COPA, which is Crypto Open Patent Alliance, which was founded by Square. And we've been speaking to them quite a bit, and we'll basically fight side by side with them. They are a different organization in that their modus operandi is to all their members will not sue each other. They will not assert patents against each other. So by joining COPA, you're declaring that you are a good patent actor and you're not a patent troll. We actually want to prevent patents from being awarded in the first place. And then there's Lot Network, which is license on transfer, and it's well beyond crypto. Lot Network is a big patent organization. And they license on transfer means when you have a patent, suppose you're a startup and you patent something very innovative, but then your startup goes bust. And typically what happens then is a patent troll will buy your patent from the liquidator. And then that patent will be used to attack other companies that innovate in the same space that you were in, but are more successful than your startup was. So license on transfer was actually created by Google and a bunch of other big companies. And the idea there is once you join that network, if your patents are transferred from you to a patent troll or a patent assertion entity is what they're called legally. And that the definition of that is a company that makes more than 50% of its revenue from patent lawsuits, not from building product and serving customers. But if your patent falls into the hand of such an entity, instantly everybody else in that network gets a perpetual license on that patent and cannot be trolled. So that's what Lot Network does. And I joined Lot Network as well, my company. So I support these other efforts, and we all need to work together to keep this open and free.
Okay, so basically there are people who are trying to hijack the Bitcoin network with patents, but are you all around against patents for, I'm sorry, interference. You guys hear that as well?
Yeah, it's okay. We still hear you.
Okay, are you against all patents in the cryptocurrency space as a general rule, or are you simply against people abusing patents to hijack Bitcoin?
Open Crypto Alliance is very much against bad actors using patents to prevent other people from innovating and building crypto and blockchain technology. It's beyond Bitcoin because patents are generic in a lot of ways. They'll be more on a specific aspect of the technology rather than the brand of Bitcoin or how Bitcoin does it. So that's where we're focused. But yet we live in a world where patent law exists. I mean, I filed a patent on peer chain protocol in 2017. It's a defensive patent, and it's because the system's there. And I'll happily put this patent in the public domain, and so that nobody can, but having it there, I can prevent people from attacking me. It's part of a defensive strategy.
Okay, so if there were some blockchain projects that patented their own network, so they had patents, would you say that poses a threat to the overall cryptocurrency space, or would you?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know who said that.
That was Ben. I couldn't hear the question. Sorry, Max.
There are some projects, for instance, that they definitely have their own patents, and they believe that they're necessary for enterprise adoption. For
Give me free Bitcoin.
Yeah. Maybe.
That wasn't me. I'm sorry. I'll go mute. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
Mute or boot.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, so
my
no, I don't believe that you should patent all of your project as far as possible. I would rather have a world where we don't patent this stuff and we don't need to think about patent defense and getting sued and whatnot.
There must be some projects, for instance, that would need to patent their projects, though, right? I mean, there must be some intellectual property that they need to protect. Otherwise, what's to stop a copycat project from just hijacking their idea?
No, it's not about that. It's either you build the best project or you don't. And if someone else takes your techniques, that's fine. Let them do it.
Just fucking kill them easily.
The code is there, but you have to be prepared for bad patent actors, and you need a defensive strategy. Maybe Stefan, since you've got more experience in that side of the things, patent defenses, you've seen a bit of that. I think you have a patent lawsuit town nearby you where these kind of things go down.
Yeah, and I'm in Houston and the Eastern District of Texas, which is in Marshall.
You look like you're in a Spanish villa, actually. Sorry, just had to put that out there.
Okay. All right, give me a
have
second.
A moderator is out to lunch.
Now you're in a room. Now you're in a retirement home.
Okay. Yeah, so I've gotten patents for myself and hundreds for clients too. Unfortunately, that's necessary now. It's not as necessary as you might think. The primary reason is for defensive purposes, right? But it's like giving guns or bullets to someone. They can use them offensively or defensively. So you can't really tell someone how to use a patent once they get it. And the danger is they might use it to sue people, which is one advantage of the lot network, right? Like, so a startup gets it for defensive reasons and then they go bankrupt, and a patent troll buys it and uses it assertively. So the lot network would keep them from doing that because all the members of the lot network could not be sued by that patent. But another reason you get a patent is because, given our world, a lot of investors, venture capitalists, want to know that you have your IP locked up, and they want to know that you're going to be protected from competition to some degree. So they ask you, hey, do you have a lot of patents on your technology? And they take that into account when they fund you. Of course, if there was a patent-free world, they wouldn't have to do that, but they have to do that now to some degree. But it doesn't mean you have to patent as much as people do now. A lot of that's for aggressive purposes. So you need to, prudently consider arming yourself with patents to some degree, unfortunately, in this world, but maybe not as much as the patent lawyers will tell you.
Okay, and on that note, let's take a break because there seem to be some interruptions. Hopefully we'll be able to fix that before we come back. I apologize to you guys about that. So if we can all go into our breakout room, we will see you soon. Okay, so
5 minutes.
yeah, 5 sounds good.
See you back in 5.
Okay, I will take over now just for a little introduction of the co-hosts. So thank you guys for this interesting discussion. And I would like to invite to join me Bertrand from 18 Digits. Are you here, Bertrand?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, hello. And so these are all our co-hosts, Bertrand from 18 Digits. And do we have maybe Roderick here?
I think he's there.
Hi, I'm here.
Ah, hey, Roderick. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, great, great. So we have as well, we have 18 Digits, we have Coin Market Alert, and we have Katya Adami from Coinvention. Are we here?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Here.
Hello.
Nice to see you all.
And Roman from All About Crypto.
Hi everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
So these are the guys, the team behind the organization as well. And I would like to introduce. So I will begin with 18 Digits. First of all, let me all just say that I will post a goodie bag with all the gifts in the 2 channels. One is going to be the Zoom chat and the other is going to be the Telegram channel. And while I'm doing this, I would like, Bertram, now the word is really yours. I would like you to tell us what's new in the 18 Digits site.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Johnny. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit of our vision of a social network, as we call it, a social network dedicated to the crypto lovers. I mean, this is actually the point. I'm partnering with Roderick, who will talk about Coin Market Alert later. It's another project we're doing together. But the idea was actually to build a community or to build a social network that is actually dedicated to crypto. The idea was to build something that is actually aggregating as many information as possible, as many news as possible, all the education that is reachable and available out there in the market on several diverse portals, to aggregate everything into one platform, to really find a key portal for everybody who wants to enter the crypto market. We only launched end of December last year, so it's only a couple of months old. We are very happy that we're close to reach 25,000 members already. And it's growing really by hundreds every day, which is really nice. Kind of confirms that we might have had the right idea and that everybody's looking for a home actually where he can find everything about crypto.
All right.
So just quickly, the social part about is it that by delivering content and quality to the platform, that means growing the community, writing articles, doing nice comments. We actually reward the whole community with points, with the point system that can be converted actually into shares in the company itself. So our goal is that this 18 Digits platform will be owned by the crypto community end of the day, by each and every member. So,
Okay.
so much
Super.
to 18 digits to
Super.
just a rough overview.
Super. We are doing as well some events already on the 18 digits, let me add, together. So with the Palmatrix team, with Palma Virtual Assistant, we're going to be hosting on 18 digits the 18 Palmas trading competition, the 18 days lasting trading competition. So I'm inviting everybody that wants to learn how to invest, how to trade, everything about crypto. We will be doing daily lives AMAs together with Bertram, and I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, the trading competition will be done in Palma Demo, so it's completely safe for all the newbies regarding the possible losses, as we all know how it goes at the beginning, right?
It's about learning. It's all about learning.
It's all about education and learning, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one, Roderick, and maybe present CoinMarketAlert a little bit. And I may say that with Palma Virtual Assistant, it's possible to connect with CoinMarketAlert, so you get the alert directly to Palma, the notification, and execute the trade with a single click. Roderick, the word is yours. Just a second. Just a second. Go on, Katya. Maybe you explain a little bit. There. No, it's not. Jeez. Try now, Roderick.
Okay, better.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Roderick. I'm Bertram's partner. So I'm here to explain a little bit about CoinMarketAlert. So simply put, CoinMarketAlert is a platform where you can go and create free alerts to keep you updated with what's happening in the market. And the reason this was important, I've been in crypto since 2011. And around 2017, I built a mining farm, quite a large one. And it was so difficult to really keep up with the prices in the market. I was on CoinGecko or CoinMarket or what is it? What's the other one? CMC, CoinMarketCap, like 50,000 times a day. So it was like, okay, it must be a better way that we can receive information on the prices. So it was a solution that was built in-house to solve our own problem. And since CoinMarketAlert was online, other people just started showing up and asking, hey, can you add this feature? Can you add that feature? So fast forward a few years later, there's about 40,000 people using CoinMarketAlert at the moment. Like I said, the service is free. There's about 15 different alerts. And they're not alerts that you will normally find on exchange. They're like latest news alert, or if a wallet increase in any size, or a transaction alerts. You have alerts that keep you on the market cap of the whole cryptocurrency if a new coin is trading. So very simple things, really geared for the newcomers in cryptocurrency, because I think that as our industry increases in adoption, you need tools that are easy to use for new people. And that's the problem, or that's the goal we're trying to achieve, is to create a nice, easy tool where people can get alerts, stay on top of what they're buying, or the coins, and simply manage it. So that's where we are with
Awesome.
CoinMarketAlert.
Awesome. Thank you. So since we're with the beginners, Katya, why don't you tell us a little bit about the convention stuff?
Yeah, gladly. So thanks for invitation. I'm happy to see you all, and I can't wait. I hope at least with some of us we can shortly meet in person. Yeah. So convention is, please everybody welcome, and welcome your friends on March the 4th. So next Thursday. This is a web workshop for people to enter in crypto and in alternative investments the proper way. So we will explain what is money, how to invest, how to start, how to buy and hold and do everything with cryptocurrencies in the right way. And also we will present some practical tools like Palma tool, so practical, innovative tool who can everybody use and get a lot out of them for just to see and to understand and to manage their portfolio better. So
Super.
this is welcome everyone, and especially your friends who would like to start, but they don't know how to start.
Super. Thank you, Katya, for a quick introduction. And I will just quickly jump to Roman, who is bringing to us a great event. We all hope that it's going to pull it off because of the Corona, of course. Roman, how is it looking? Blockchain Station, guys.
Yeah, blockchain session. Hi, I'm Roman from All About Crypto. Actually, a few words about All About Crypto. It's an educational platform that started in 2018. I'm in crypto from 2015, and when I saw what's happening in 2017 and what people are doing, I said to myself, I must do something to prevent all those losses. That's why I started the company, and last year, we wanted to organize blockchainization. The Corona prevented it. So the next plan is from 14th till 16th of May. So it is a on-site event held in Laško in Slovenia. So 3 days of crypto and fun. I'm really hoping that we will be able to do it. Current situation is not really brilliant according to the Corona, but anyway, we're hoping for the best.
Super, super. Thank you, Roman. Do you have any accommodations from people from abroad? Of course.
Yes, of course, there are accommodation on site on the event. So on the event location, there are also some additional accommodations available around it. So yeah.
Super. That's great. So everybody from anywhere you come, we have some wonderful places around Laško. I've been there. The famous beer, Slovenian beer, is from Laško. So, but as well, they have good wine. So not just for beer lovers. And now we go back to the main actors. I'm really happy to have you all, I must say, and we're bringing on another secret guest.
Okay, so we're back. Okay, so we had a few people listening in the audience who have some opinions as well. There's somebody new I'd like to introduce you to in the corner of the screen. Alan, Dad, hey.
Hello, I'm listening. I'm Alan Lurie.
He's my father. He's a lawyer. Dad, I'll let you explain who you are. Who are you, Dad?
I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing law many years. I'm both a lawyer in the state of California and in the District of Columbia. Do different kinds of law, tax law, communication law, including radio. I also in other matters involving crypto arbitration, crypto litigation, and areas of extreme interest to me. I've been listening to this panel. I'm fascinated by the discussions, particularly the patent law and the need to keep crypto free. And if you're going to have patents, that patents be used only for the purpose that they're designed to do, which would be to spur innovation. And I recognize the tremendous debate between whether patents at all and obvious position that there should be no patent trolls and there should be no way to block innovation in crypto or in any other field of endeavor. So on that, I will leave it to the rest of the panel here.
Wow, Dad, I didn't think that you would have those views. I thought you would, you know, play devil's advocate, but that was okay. So you were obviously inspired by Jeb and Stefan.
I can play devil's advocate, but there are certain things which are common sense, and there are certain things which are, like you say, just taking a position to take a position. I've always believed that if you take the super end of any one pole in something, that you're going to generally be, you have a good deal of wrong on your side as well as right. I think that the whole debate as to patents is something that, at least in the crypto area, probably comes down on the side of freedom. Because although I can see some areas where patents may be useful, I can see how they could do maximum damage in the crypto space. Now, I can see also where if you have some areas, particularly outside of crypto, which I think is really where the concern is, because the crypto itself will be, it's open space, but the part of crypto where crypto meets other businesses, in other words, actually used, that's where you're into the patent wall, the area of patents, where you're going to have businesses crippled. And I debate, and particularly interested in the system fight patent. In other words, the idea that patent trolls must be met with counterforce, that is, with the crowdsourcing idea, and the idea individuals can be in consortiums, in essence, or in pills. In other words, you have a patent. If you lose your patent in a bankruptcy or an insolvency proceeding, the patent becomes much less useful, or in fact, because others have the right to use it. So to me, that's a very important area. In fact, probably the most important thing to think of is that there be an organized attempt to prevent monopolization by patent.
Wow, Dad, I have to say that for somebody who does all this cryptocurrency stuff, you have terrible internet, Dad.
I do.
I heard like one out of every word you said, you know?
Well, I hate to tell you something, but the real monopoly power in this world is not the internet. It's not the medicine of cyberspace. The fact that in California, where I am, I have one provider of internet. I'm stuck with it. So I'm the victim of a
State monopoly, no?
Yeah,
no,
California.
California monopoly. If I lived in Long Beach, if I lived 20 miles, I would have perfect internet.
That's
but
terrible.
because I live here and I'm under the control of Cox Communications, I have lousy internet, and there's nothing I got it.
Oh, well, that's like kind of the dog ate my homework excuse. We'll talk about that later. I'm sure we can get you better internet.
Case, well, you're right. I should give up my middle class morality, and I should move immediately to another city with better internet.
Well, yeah. Actually, you know, so Stefan's currently in. Stefan, where are you right now? You're not in Texas, are you? Is it Texas?
Yeah, Houston, Texas.
Yeah. Okay. And Dad, you know, California. You're always trashing California, telling me it's time to get out. Have you ever thought about moving to Texas?
Texas, it's a lovely place. In fact, I love your background.
Thanks. That's my front yard.
Is that really your back? Is that just a picture you're hanging on a wall?
It's a picture of my front yard, but it's my front yard.
I love it. There you go.
You know, whenever I try to bring like my dad clients for people who want to start their business in California, he always says, don't do it. His first piece of advice, don't start a business in California, get out, you know? So Dad, thank you for joining us for that. Also, Stefan, is there anything else that you would like to add to this patent argument? Because you've obviously influenced my father. So this Crypto Alliance thing, tell us a little bit more about how you are fighting, because before last time we got cut off by some people speaking, but how you guys are really fighting against these crazies or these imposters or these fraudsters who are claiming that they created Bitcoin and they are now trying to assert patents, or they're trying to file patents. How do you deal with frivolous lawsuits? How do you allocate your funds so that they're not being spent, basically fighting things that will get thrown out anyways?
Yeah, so we're not going to fight lawsuits. What we're trying to do is because that's very, very expensive. So here's the deal. There's hundreds of patents being filed by certain people that are well known in the Bitcoin community, but also others like Alibaba and what was the one we saw this morning, Jed? The news alert about one of the telecom players or one of the media companies.
MasterCard, maybe.
MasterCard, yeah, MasterCard's filing them too, so that so you have lots of patents coming. The thing is, a lot of them are, I think, invalid in the sense of they're not substantial enough to be an invention. They're not non-obvious, or maybe they're just not even new, because there's code out there that was a precursor. But the problem is the patent office is not able to know all this, and they're not competent, and the standards are not objective. And the problem is, once a patent is granted, it has a presumption of validity, a legal presumption of validity, and that makes it a dangerous weapon. Your dad was talking about being used for its original purpose, and one thing I just posted in the chat was one good thing that's happened, at least in the US law in recent years, is that the ability to get an injunction to enforce your patent has been eroded by the eBay decision, which means you have to like sue someone and try to get money from them, but you can't get an injunction to stop them from doing what they're doing. So that would mean the patents pose a little bit less of a threat. But the point is, what we want to do is identify key patents that are pending right now before the European or US or other patent offices, and find the prior art, that is previous technology and publications that precede it, that show that it was not a new idea, and just basically get an attorney, a patent attorney, to file a proceeding with the European Patent Office and tell the examiner, hey, look at this prior art, you should not grant this patent. And that doesn't take a lot of money. And once we start chipping away and have some successes, we can do that. And we're already we're a new group. We just went public a couple of months ago, and we're right now identifying patents, and we're probably going, we don't have any concrete data on that, but we're probably going to be filing our first challenge shortly, and we're working on that right now. And the more funding that we can get from the community, we can hire attorneys to challenge other patents and to start chipping away at these threats.
Fantastic. Now, before we conclude on that, I just want to remind everyone, Eleanor is not specialized in patents at all, and we definitely want to utilize her expertise. So I yield to Eleanor. What would you like to talk about, huh? Eleanor, what is your area of expertise?
Actually, I wanted to go back to the patents because I'm learning a lot, right? I understand that by joining this event tonight as well, for me, this was obviously for me to learn about something that's new to me, and bringing my own expertise from the community side. What I see is that there's a big problem with this patent office that seems like really uneducated, and you guys are basically spending time and money and effort teaching these people and catching patents before they're approved. It's a very interesting process, and I can understand how overwhelming it must be if there's like 10,000 patents to have to like go through them and find the really crucial ones and which ones will really do harm to the ecosystem, and how to filter through it and be recognized as a thought leader in patents, and to be able to say this one doesn't make sense, this one is not valid, this one shouldn't go through. And at the same time, some of them, like you mentioned, Jed, that you yourself have a patent. I understand that there are some patents out there, defensive patents, that can make sense sometimes. And I want to, we talked about Schnorr before, like as one of the patents that was hindering the technology on the protocol level itself. But you've been mentioning patents that are hindering the space on the on and off ramp. So not on the technology itself, but later on in the process and for Bitcoin businesses. Am I understanding this correctly? You're muted right now, Jed.
Yeah, and
That
Jack,
is
one more
correct.
thing. If you just, before you answer that, she said that you're using your patent defensively, but my understanding is that you're also using it offensively, also as a sword, not just as a shield. Is that correct?
It is a defensive patent, and I joined the lot network for that purpose. I mean, if it falls into other hands, it is licensed to everybody. But yes, I would consider using it as a sword, of course, if the peer chain protocol that the patent is on, it's a bit technical, but it is a protocol that allows you to move value and assets from one chain to another, trusted information, not just coins, but actually information. And the idea being
So
that
it's an interoperability chain type of.
it's an interoperability protocol, yes, that is peer chain. So it runs on top of multiple chains. And I would consider using it to stop someone from connecting a fraudulent or complete shitcoin chain onto an ecosystem that I was participating in and supporting. Yeah, I would actually use it as a sword in that case. But that said, you know, it's not there to be offensive. It actually cost me a lot of money, and I don't expect to make any money back. And by joining LOT, it's not of interest to investors, because if I transfer that patent, everyone else gets a license on it. So it's clearly defensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eleanor, what exactly does your company do? Because we didn't go into detail at all.
It's okay. It's okay. I can't believe I'm sharing the stage with like Stefan. I've been looking at your videos, and it's just fantastic to be here and talking with other libertarians about these things. And of course, I love this space. There's so many different profiles, and you need lawyers and developers and marketeer and business developers. And from my side, what do? I specialize really in education. So I've been teaching crypto 101s for the last couple of months. I've been teaching them for specific regions. So I'm based in Amsterdam, but I've been teaching people in Lebanon, Hong Kong, Italy, Vietnam, and where people need cryptocurrencies, where people actually need to transact, sometimes escape a local terrible monetary regime. I mean, from Houston to Amsterdam to Luxembourg, we're spoiled. We are very spoiled with our financial institutions and our banks and the regulations we fall under. But in some places, devaluation, hyperinflation of prices is over the roof and cannot be compared. And people have no escape from the banking system. So I've been really focusing on education. I also teach one-on-ones for those that want me to be able to learn really all the fundamentals of cryptocurrencies and blockchain and consensus algorithms and all the good stuff. And I'm also launching a podcast, so I'm really excited for a lot of things. So I'll be reaching out, I think, to some of you, because I want to make a podcast that's really focused on the humans in crypto, focused on our experiences as individuals, part of this ecosystem, and what brought us here. And I think learning as well about patents and law and what it has implications, because I usually have a very libertarian narrative, and I say, you know, we don't, how can I say this, that, you know, regulators can't catch us. We're too fast, and we are going so fast, and technology and our society and our ways of transacting and exchanging value, just laws and regulators can't catch up, but they might. I've seen here in the Netherlands, you know, in the European directive, the AMLD5 last year, I've seen companies also fighting the government because there's all these, you know, who's dictating these new laws and enforcing new crypto businesses, right? So I'm thinking about exchanges here in the Netherlands, asking them to verify not only your customers, so verifying their, you know, Bitcoin addresses or cryptocurrency addresses, but also to verify their counterparty. So it's know your customer's client. So it's further, and we're asking a lot. And obviously it goes against a lot of these businesses' mottos, or, you know, how they brought customers in the first place. Asking them now to do this means that they're going to lose customers. So absolutely, laws and regulation can hinder innovation in a whole industry. And this is just from here in the Netherlands. So we're lucky. We're in we have sort of crypto regulations, but are they the ones we really want? I'm not sure. And so it's also a game of, I understand that we need to fight on several places. We need to fight with patent trolls, but we also have to educate our regulators and just educate the general the general people as well about this technology and reassure them that this technology is available, that people can use it, that you're not a criminal for using it, and just showing them how easy it can be to send money across the world for very low fees, and how internet magic money is not something from the past. It's actually something that we can use today. And patents are just, hey, one thing we'll have to kick on the road, I think. Cryptocurrency has to go through a lot of barriers in terms of adoption, and patents is one of those things. That's what I would end it.
That's so true. And you really picked up on a point there about how some people are not they're not investing in cryptocurrency. It's not speculative for them, it's survival. A lot of people, their local currencies are the volatile one, are the ones that give them the most risk. And they don't look at cryptocurrency as being the dangerous investment. They hedge their bets against they do anything to get their money out of their local currency, and Bitcoin for them offers them a lot more, prosperity, even if it crashes.
Yeah,
still better off
and teaching, and if people are afraid of volatility, teaching them about stable coins. We have very good decentralized stable coins already, like DAI, for example, built over Ethereum. Okay, it's expensive right now to transact it, and this is why the space keeps on evolving. We need to answer all these questions from these different users, basically. But cryptocurrencies is, we talked about the white paper, right? It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, right? It's a lot of things, and it can be a lot, and it's for each investor or user is going to be something different. But cryptocurrencies are here to really change. This is a true paradigm shift. I really see it as we had the separation of state and church. Let's have the separation of money and state. It's happening. It's happened. So they can't go.
You sound like Rothbard. That's great.
I like that one-liners. We really need to bring back trademarks for this. Very pro intellectual property. You got some great stuff there we can sell.
No, I'm not going to patent anything. Everything open source. Use it, run with it, make some merch, put some t-shirts. To go back to your question about Noam Chomsky, if you're a thinker, you want your ideas to be as widely diffused as possible. Even if you would write a book, if that's the only way you're making money, I would say you're a bad business person. That's it.
Or
like you didn't.
Fraud, but here's a question. Okay, so we're against patents, but that doesn't mean that we support lawlessness, right? Okay, so regulation. There has to be some level of regulation, AML compliance. So you can't just send money to anyone. You have to make sure that the person you're sending the money to.
Regulation is an interesting thing. Simply putting existing regulation onto crypto, which is what regulators and governments have been trying to do, is a totally backwards approach. It's like trying to regulate cars the way we regulated horses, which is what they did when the car was invented. It took years for them to figure out that a car is not a motorized horse, and you have to treat it differently. And that's crypto versus fiat, and the old financial system. So we need new kinds of regulation. And the ones that we have, by the way, in the fiat system are so broken and useless. If you look at chain analysis of crime in crypto, 0.35%, that's 0.35% of Bitcoin transaction or crypto transactions that they analyzed were connected to illicit activity. All right. The very same statistic from the UN Office of Drugs and Crime shows that 3.6% of global GDP is laundered money. So there's literally an order of magnitude worse illicit activity in the fiat system than there is in crypto. That's just a starting point.
I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the FinCEN files, right?
Of course, all that.
You're familiar.
Yeah. But if you look at how does KYC work today, and this is where it's just my mind explodes. KYC is so broken that my company is trying to fix a lot of it. The way KYC works today is as if they designed the road system and the driving system, okay? You can buy a car. You don't need a license to drive. But every time you go to a mechanic or to a gas station, you have to tell them where you're coming from, where you're going, who you are. And if they think there's anything suspicious about you, they will secretly report you to the police. That's how KYC works today. And this is not a good system. It's not the way to do it. It'd be much easier if every government just said, here's your financial license. You're not a terrorist. You're not a money laundering. And money laundering, by the way, is a crime that requires a predicate offense. So in order to launder money, you have to have the proceeds of a crime. You cannot launder money without a crime that creates those profits. So you need to be trafficking arms or trafficking humans or engaging in illicit activities. That's what creates money that can be laundered. So this idea of just money laundering by itself and then making all the financial players police their own customers is insanity. And we certainly don't want to take that to crypto.
Let me add a libertarian take on this too. Most of the things or the predicate offenses are not real crimes. So money laundering wouldn't even be a thing in a free world because, people have to launder money because the governments outlaw pornography and drugs, right, and weapons, and they have taxes that people are trying to evade. So without all these unjust, harmful government laws, money laundering wouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah, that said, terrorism, human trafficking, slavery, these kinds of crimes. Those are predicate offenses that we don't want to go away.
Correct.
This is great. This is such a fun discussion. It's like, those laws, but in the end, why do we have those laws? It's fantastic. And I think to go back on the KYC discussion, I don't know if you guys saw that Shapeshift had implemented. So Shapeshift was like a big decentralized exchange, and a lot of people loved it because they didn't have KYC. Then they implemented KYC. It was a whole ecosystem was an uproar, like, no, Shapeshift, what are you doing? And they removed KYC again. So they've reverted their own policy and they're removing KYC now. And I think what's really interesting for the larger audience is the rise of decentralized exchanges. We're not even joking here. We're talking about billions being exchanged on beautiful platforms, may I may say. Uniswap is gorgeous. It's just unicorns and pinkness. And I also love the marketing of it all. It's just really nice. And there's no KYC AML. So there are beautiful projects and businesses, use cases and businesses being adopted here, and there's no KYC AML, right? These are completely unregulated platforms, and there's liquidity.
Okay, but I'm gonna have to step in here and say, do you guys really think it's realistic to have an exchange without KYC AML? Do you really think you're going to be able to survive without complying with anti-money laundering regulations, OFAC regulations, sanctions compliance?
Ultimately, no. The exchange will run, the DEX will run, yes, but the people who trade on the DEX, is what's going to happen is someone is going to be a counterparty to a trade that is used to finance terrorism. And because they're the counterparty of that trade and they didn't do it through a coin join and Monero and all this stuff, and they are trackable, they will be a terrorist financier. So the DEX is not the problem, but the people using the DEX are actually putting themselves at risk because they don't know who their counterparty is.
Governments are doing it. The US.
I'm certain that secret intelligence services use these things because a secret intelligence service is nothing but an organized crime organization that only operates illegally outside of your own country. That's what the definition of a secret intelligence service is. So yes, of course they use it.
Okay,
anybody can be a liquidity provider.
Serious actors. We all agree that there are criminals. We all agree that there are terrorists. We all agree that there are terrible people. How do we stop them from getting crypto if it is that decentralized? If there is no AML, then what? Do you guys really stand by your statements that there should be no AML compliance, that you should do nothing to prevent cryptocurrency from getting in the hands of some of the worst people on earth?
Yep.
I'd say the terrible people and the criminals, the terrorists, are the federal government, and hopefully crypto will ruin their fiat money dominance, and they will be less able to fund their wars and their bombing of people in the Middle East and things like that. So let's hope that crypto ends the dominance of the real terrorists, which are the central governments. But that's my radical libertarian perspective.
Amen. I concur.
Totally. Wait, Dad, did you say something? I didn't hear you.
I did. I have a slightly different view of it here, and it's a practical view of it. But in terms of whether or not it's desirable that nation states be reduced in power, and I understand there's the libertarian point of view of that. And frankly, I believe the government is itself the greatest danger to human freedom. I agree with that at a fundamental level. I have a much practical way to look at this, I think, which is that we may want crypto to be of government. The fact of the matter is that the tendencies are going the way, particularly in the United States, and I think in other places. The governments are going to crack down and are in fact cracking down on it. For one thing, they want to tax it. The United States, particularly aggressive interest in taxing transactions. At least in the United States, the IRS has modified the forms that everyone files their taxes on here to require the disclosure of crypto. And individuals will be tracked on the question of whether they own crypto and are going to account for crypto sales and purchases in the United States. Before they always had legal obligation to report their income, but now there's explicit questions, little tripwires been put there, which make it basically a felony if you don't tell that you own crypto. And once you've told the federal government you own crypto, now comes the next step, which is you have to start reading correctly. And what they're interested in is taking their cut, and they will be able to do that, at least among U.S. persons, they will do that. U.S. persons owe to the IRS regardless of where they've been, or how long they've lived there. So the idea that we're all going to avoid governments, or this will operate outside of the space of governments, I think is going to be an idea that we may, but I think as a practical matter, we're going to have a lot of trouble implementing. It will be hard to implement.
Jeb, thoughts? Jeb,
anybody there?
Yeah.
We'll see capital flight. Yeah. I think we'll see a lot of capital flight from the U.S. in crypto. People will, U.S. persons will find other vehicles to hold it. They use offshore trusts and things like this that are hard to look through. Of course, they're trying to get rid of all these structures. They want total transparency, but
I think isn't it normal? Isn't it normal that they're trying to defend the dollar? I mean, it's questioning the very nature of the dollar. So, I mean, it's normal that the U.S. government is, I mean, they have to do something. They have to try something. They can't just stand idle as people move their treasury all to cryptocurrencies. It's freaking them out. We expected this, as the space talked about this for years, that regulators would regulate on and off ramps, let alone taxes. And yeah, I think it's interesting. There was this person recently, I can't remember the source correctly, but someone was arrested. They apparently had stolen a bunch of cryptocurrencies, but they're not revealing their private keys. So even though this person is,
my dad loves
did you
that
see
story.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Isn't it gorgeous? It's like, yeah, fine, arrest me, put me in jail, but I'm never giving you my crypto. I think it's, you can only go so far.
Unskatable. Yeah, if you think about it, though, Bitcoin or crypto in general, true crypto that's properly implemented, I mean, you have a seed phrase. You write that down on a piece of paper. That's free speech. So your crypto is protected by the laws that protect speech. Also, your crypto is property. So your crypto is protected by all the property rights laws as well. I mean, the government's got a big nut to crack here, and it's going to take them a long time to figure it out.
I never thought of a seed as free speech. This is mind-blowing right now.
You know what's funny is when we started off talking about patents, and how you're against intellectual property, I was like, okay, this is interesting. I need to expand my horizons, because I would never take that position, before this conversation. And I was even surprised that my father, who I always thought was more conservative, he agreed with you guys. I called him up during the break and said, "What did you think?" And he says, "I agree with most of it." But now I think all of you, my dad included, are just batshit crazy when you're talking about this libertarian stuff, and bringing the government. But let me tell you the good news. The good news is that crypto is getting us all to say things and to think in a way that we've never thought before so freely. So even though I think you're all batshit crazy, I mean, are you really, you know? I mean, because now you guys are going to run the future monetary systems. I mean, cryptocurrency is going to be adopted by all institutions. And who's at the forefront of it? The people who I call batshit crazy. Who are the lawyers? Who are the people who are going to be fighting against the patents? People like Stefan, people like Jet, okay? So maybe I'm just not used to this, and a lot of people are not used to this in the mainstream, these sort of ideas, and we're just gonna have to get used to them. And maybe, right now, for instance, the things that you guys have said, like 90% of it after the patents, I totally disagree with. Like, I'm totally for KYC. I'm totally for AML. I think it's totally ludicrous not to have KYC for an exchange. But you know what? The fact that this topic is even, you know, becoming in the mainstream, the idea that we can even debate this now and not basically be disregarded as you know, as cretins or whatever. I think that this is what it's really exciting about the cryptocurrency space, because it's giving power to people who otherwise would have been disregarded by the system. And in that sense, I guess I am a libertarian, you know.
Well, let me, you know, just like cryptocurrency is making us think about things we hadn't thought of before, like money, right? Money used to be gold or commodities or fiat. Now we're wondering, what about digital assets? Until around 1995 with the internet, most people didn't think about patents and copyrights because they were the province of the big companies and they were in the background, right? You know, you couldn't just copy a book by looking at it. So you had to have a printing press and all that. And so copyright sort of went in the background, and so did, but when piracy started on the internet, then copyright came into every consumer's lives. And now patents are hitting people in their daily lives with impacts on the technology that they use on the internet. So technology, the digital age, and now digital money age, is causing more and more people to have to confront and think about things that were arcane in the province of specialists before, right? Like cryptography, property rights and digital things, tax law, KYC, AML, patent, copyright, all these kinds of things. And the good thing is now we have forums, we can talk about it and people can learn. And you know, you don't have these little communities of people that keep this knowledge to themselves, like a bunch of scribes.
Yes, and also even Stefan, you know, you have a very interesting, very credible background. Even I saw your Wikipedia page. You know, you're published, all the stuff you've published. And Jad, with you and your background in NATO, I mean, it's not like, you know, you're some crackpot guy who, you know, we just pulled off the street and said, hey, talk about crypto. And yet you somehow developed these views over time. When did you feel you became most disillusioned with our current monetary system? When did you have that moment?
It was a gradual thing. I've been interested in digital cash for a long time and actually thought of a lot of the ideas behind Bitcoin. When I came across a paper called How to Make a Mint, which was published by the NSA in 1996, it was leaked in 2000, early 2008 on Cryptome. I don't know if any of you know that site, but it's a site run by a former architect, and they leak a lot of private and secret government stuff. So that was sort of, I knew there was something there, but obviously the financial crisis, I could see that coming, you know, the dot-com bubble and then the financial crisis. And it was clear that we were on a trajectory, and it's now, you know, to the point where last year, 20% of all the dollars in existence were printed. And this year, even more will be printed. In the next 4 years, there will be more than $7 trillion added to the money supply. So that's just a debasement of the currency straight up. It's pretty amazing. And the patents that are going to control this, I mean, ultimately, if you look at Bitcoin, people are talking about central bank digital currencies, something we didn't touch on yet. But central bank digital currencies are all fine and good, and central banks can implement those in their jurisdictions. But what will central banks use to transact with each other? They used to use gold. And I actually think Bitcoin is the only thing that they'll be able to agree on, because it's proven, it's been running so long, there's no technical issue with it, it's there, and none of them control it. So ultimately, Bitcoin will have to be the central bank reserve currency. Central bankers would kill me for saying that, but it's, you know, their successors are going to embrace it. I really believe that is the future. And if you want to see, pictures or a video of someone saying they want to control that whole system through patent trolling, go to opencryptoalliance.org and watch the video on the middle of our webpage.
I'm definitely going to check that out. And on that note, let's bring this to a close. I would like everyone to give me kind of their final statement. Stefan, Eleanor, what would you like to contribute before we leave everybody to do whatever they're going to do now?
Wait, guys, we have a question from audience.
Oh, okay.
Can we answer the question?
Sure. Well, where is the question? Is it in is it typed or is somebody going to speak?
Yeah, I've sent it. Wait a minute. Give me a second. To the group on Telegram.
Okay. Let me check that, you guys. See what the question is.
It's from Nat and it's from Jed specifically.
It's for Jed. Okay, it says, Jed, how would you see a chatbot driving your identity through API keys? I very much hate all uploading on the exchanges. It's abominating and very data consuming. My data everywhere, a violation of constitutional right to share only the data. Okay, okay, that was
I think it's on KYC, and I've thought about that same thing, and I find it ridiculous that we have to expose all our personal information to be judged by some weenie who will decide whether or not we're worthy of using the service that we want to use. That said, I do agree with some of the things you said, Max. We do need to be sure that we're not dealing with terrorists and that we're not, doing business with people that are giving us the proceeds of heinous crimes against other humans. But that doesn't mean you have to expose your identity. That doesn't mean you have to upload all of your personal information. We have the technology to do this through zero knowledge proofs. We have the technology to do this on a peer-to-peer basis. I am building the technology to do this on a peer-to-peer basis without exposing your identity. That's a challenge in itself, but we're actually building it. We're deep in the code. But the bigger challenge, once we have it and it works, is in the first release, we'll have to allow people to expose all their personal information because the regulator will only accept it if it does that. And then we need to convince the regulator that what they're demanding is not necessary. We don't need to strip search everybody before they board the plane. We have technology that can see through clothes and doesn't need to expose the identity of the person, metaphorically speaking.
Okay, and the name of that company is KYC.
KYC3 is the company I founded to do this.
Okay, that's also very, very interesting. I wish we would have I wish we would have had more time because I would have liked to delve into that as well.
Another time.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Let's see, on the chat, or if we have any other questions, now will be the time.
We have from Andrew.
Okay. It
Can
says,
you see it?
My question will be on 4 horsemen of the infocalypse. Okay. Will appreciate you touching this subject as I don't see the question. I'm reading your thing. Okay, and you read it. I can't see it here. I don't
4
understand.
horsemen of the infocalypse. An analogy of internet criminals. But I'm not sure. Maybe this was already discussed. Looks like this is in connection with one of the topics that you already covered. Andrew?
Okay, so is there any other question, or are we going to wrap this up? There's no other question. Let's let Eleanor and Stefan also have the last word.
Okay, I'll just say that it was wonderful to be invited here. Thank you so much for moderating, Max, Jed, Stefan, and Alan. It was great to connect and be able to directly have these peer-to-peer conversations over Zoom tonight. I've learned a lot, and in terms of patents, yeah, no to patents, long live cryptocurrencies and the free internet, and make sure to back up your private keys. And yeah, the cypherpunk dream is alive and kicking.
I'd say you're wrapping yourself in the crypto flag, but we have flag, right? You know? No, it's cool. Eleanor, your company, let us know your company. Check it out.
Yeah, my company is CryptoCanal, cryptocanal.org. I've also left in the chat here the Telegram link to the community, so you can always find me there. You can find me on Twitter at blockblank, and yeah, cryptocanal.org if you want to book me, talk about education, if you want to have me to just teach other people about what we're talking about here tonight. And it was really my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, and I wish we could have also been able to speak about things that, as you said, you came on to talk about. I'm glad that you enjoyed the patent conversation and you contributed so much. It was really nice to hear you talk about the forks, because it would be
freedom.
one of the first casualties if the patents were actually to come into force. So, Stefan?
Yeah, so I'll be nice to have Jed kind of finish it up,
Okay.
but thanks for the backhanded compliment that you guys don't seem to be as crazy as you sound.
Too crazy. No. You know, it's cool, you know, but I don't agree with a lot of the stuff I hear. Like, whoa, holy shit! Like, I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think all of us this year have done 180s on our views, anyways. I think that this year has made a lot of people crazier, but it's also made a lot of people more open-minded.
Yep. Well, and I'm a big Austrian economist and as a libertarian, and like Seyfedin Ammous's book, The Bitcoin Standard, which I think is the preeminent work in this field, is just peppered with Austrian economic insights. So Bitcoin itself is helping to introduce the world to sound economics, which is Austrian economics in my view. So that's another good thing. It was looked at as a crank view years ago. And so some of our radical libertarian ideas, anti-state, anti-Fed, anti-inflation looked crankish before, but now people are starting to look at it and at least have an open mind and learn about it. But anyway, no, I'd like to thank you for this, Teşekkür ederim, and I'll let Jed take it from here.
You know, that was good pronunciation, but let me just say one more thing then. What you said also interesting. Okay, for instance, as a musician, I would like to see my music that I write copyrighted and protected by intellectual property. And you would think that my view has been solidified for hundreds of years, but you don't need to look back more than 200 years or so and find out that during the times of Mozart and Haydn, there was no intellectual property, there was no copyright, and they were able to basically take the music of one and they were able to use it in their own composition, and it was kind of like a compliment to that composer. And you found that this lack of intellectual property didn't stifle their progress. In fact, you can I think it would be hard to argue, but the best time for music and for growth and for us to actually create music was before the birth of this copyright, the modern copyright. So as much as I would like to see my music copywritten because I would like to profit as a composer, I have to keep in mind that for thousands of years, composers, some of the most brilliant minds, they were thriving, they were profiting, they were making the best music, and they had absolutely no protections when it came with respect to consumer or intellectual property. And also because of that, they were able to inspire each other, and they were able to grow off one each other. And it could also be argued that if you had intellectual property then, if you had copyrights during the time of Mozart, it's very possible that Haydn would have been who we remember because of all the stuff that one maybe copied from someone else, or Beethoven.
We would have had lots of sequels. Yeah, for anyone interested in, and I know my comments are provocative to people who haven't encountered it. If you're interested in looking more into it, go to my website, which is on there, c4sif.org/resources, and there's tons of articles and talks about this. In fact, on what you talked about, you should take a look at this one. It's on that site, Max. It's called The Surprising History of Copyright and the Promise of a Copyright World, a Post-Copyright World, by Carl Fogel, who started the group questioncopyright.org. So take a look at that. There's lots of counterintuitive kind of alternative views on this stuff there.
Okay, I definitely will. I mean, I wrote it down, but we also have a recording, so I'll check that again. And maybe before you go, Jed, because I want Jed to finish, because that's what Stefan said it would be good. But Dad, do you have anything to add on this copyright stuff? Your opinion at all? If you do, unmute yourself. You're muted.
He's muted.
Unmute, please.
I was going to say the copyright issue is different because they're different from patents. and they have essentially different purposes and whole different structure. But I see how copyrights protect the ideas that individuals come up with. They come up with music, their art, and I don't see eliminating copyrights as the same sort of moral argument that you have for eliminating patents. Patents are a different area. You protect, when you protect with copyrights, very often you are protecting someone's expression, which I think has a higher moral value, higher moral claim than patents. Now,
let me give you one thing to go away with, just to think about. Copyright prevents publication of books, which means it's literally censorship. Okay, so it's definitely in conflict with the First Amendment and freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and the Supreme Court has recognized this. It just tries to balance these rights, but basically copyright is censorship. So just think about it like that. It definitely is, because it prevents people from publishing books that they want to publish.
That said, patents are a much bigger threat to the crypto ecosystem and to blockchain technology. Patents are the threat to technology, and that's what Open Crypto Alliance is here to fight, along with COPA and Lot Network. And it's us, Open Crypto Alliance. We're 6 founders on the board of advisors. We've got a dozen or so lawyers who've stepped up and volunteered to work with us. But we need you, and we need you to spread the word. We need you to support us, and we need the community to put the funding behind us, because we're going up against some people with big fat wallets that are going to try to protect those patents and then wreck our industry with them. So go to opencryptoalliance.org and check it out and support us, please.
Before I go, I just have one thing which I'd like to bring up. Sort of a food for thought. Those who would build patent walls, the patent trolls, and the large companies that want to use patents to monopolize, have large walls. What mechanism do you have, or can you see, to create countervailing economic power to meet those well-funded, well-organized groups?
That's exactly what we're trying to do. So it's the same logic that was used in the 80s in Afghanistan, cheap Stinger missiles to shoot down expensive helicopters. What we're trying to do is to stop these patents when they're published but not yet granted, when they're pending, and against particular actors that are intending to use them maliciously and in the wrong way, so bad actors. But the approach is time sensitive. The time is now. These patents are being published now, and in 3 years they'll be granted. And then it won't be possible. You'll be talking millions of dollars to get each one overturned. But now, before they're granted, if we can crowdsource prior art, we can show that the patents are not novel, new. And the thing about patents that a lot of people don't understand is, just because you do it first doesn't mean you can patent it. You have to be the inventor. So you actually have to be the inventor of the technology to patent it. So now is the time to prevent these abusive patents from being granted. And there are some actors who filed so many thousands of patents that it's not humanly possible that they're the inventor of all of them.
Okay, great. That was a great answer. And Dad, thank you for that. And I believe now that Yerne, you would like to say something, or?
Yeah, thank you all for coming and joining us. It was an awesome ride tonight. I already posted some invitations. Maybe I do it again. We already have 2 events coming up soon. And yeah, thanks again. It was awesome. Mr. Allen, it was an honor. Ted, Stefan, thank you for all the help in moderating. Eleanor, it's an honor and pleasure. So everybody, thank you very much.
I definitely had a lot of fun, you guys. Yeah. So what if I don't agree with everything, but who cares what I think? The thing is that everyone here communicated and argued their point beautifully. And I think that this is so cool. And last year, just 2 years ago, could any of you ever imagine that, we will be able to be sitting here today having these conversations? I think that's just incredible. We got a guy in Luxembourg, someone in Texas, my dad in California, here in Istanbul, in Amsterdam. I think
Amsterdam.
And I really
in
look
Nigeria.
forward.
We have one from Nigeria as well, guests.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And Jad, Stefan, I really look forward to having you guys again with us. And also Eleanor, the next time, hopefully we can speak a little bit about more your area of expertise. I know you seem to have a lot of technical knowledge that you want to share with us. And Dad, we'll figure out, we'll stuff you in somewhere. We'll just fix your internet.
And KYC, we need to do KYC as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, take care. And as Stefan said, teşekkür ederim. He said a very good job. It was Turkish. A lot of you guys didn't catch that. So, guys.
Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bravo.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
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 Hey.
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 Hi guys. How's it going?
Yeah,
Why do
mate.
we have two Gregs? One a Tesla man and one just sitting here.
You never know which one is going to catch your throat.
One is a spaceman and the second one